Yesterday, that is January 10, 2024, it was another scandal filled day in the life of this country, in that it was a normal day, wasn't it? That day, Sandeep Lamichhane, the cricketer, got an 8-year jail term along with a fine of 5 lakh rupees as compensation from the Kathmandu District Court. A division bench of Sisiraj Dhakal found him guilty of raping a girl called Gausala 26. The name was perhaps given to just maintain the anonymity, maintain the privacy and security of the victim. The division bench, I mean the single bench, found the cricketer guilty of raping the girl on December 29 last year. So he has got punishment for the crime, but the case is not over as yet. Justice has not been delivered, so to say, because Lami Chhane can still stay out of prison. He can still move the higher court, that is the Supreme Court against this verdict. There is a legal provision as per which uh, the accused can move higher court if they are getting a sentence of 6 years to 10 years. Based on that legal premise, Lami Chhane can still move the higher court by staying out of prison. So much for this case for now. Let's enter another topic. Let's discuss another headline news, another headline grabbing news of the day that concerns a self proclaimed ascetic called Ram Bahadur Bomjan. On January 10 itself, a team from Nepal Police's Central Investigation Bureau, this team paraded Ram Bahadur Bomjan, an ascetic, a self styled ascetic, after arresting him from Hatigauda near Budhanilkant the same day. What was his crime? What led police to raid his house? What led the police team to raid his what led the police team to raid his house in Hatigauda and nab him? Bomjan faces charges of committing sexual violence and murder. Police confiscated from his house some vehicles, pen drives, and wads of cash that included foreign currency as well as the Nepali currency. The currency notes worth around 34 lakh, that is 34 million, around 34 million rupees were confiscated from that house, along with pen drives and whatnot, along with vehicles like cars and motorcycles. There is a case pending against Bomjan at the Sarlai District Court in connection with the murder and sexual violence. So the police team is preparing to just hand him over to the Sarlai District Court itself. Will these arrests, will these actions just provide some relief to a government, to a scandal filled government? There have been a series of scams and scandals of late, whether it's the N-Sale scam, whether it's Terramox procurement scandal, Lalita Nivas scandal, the 60 kg gold smuggling case, the fake Vietnamese refugee case. Like, the government, it appears, has lost all moral authority to rule the country. But the government, miraculously, it remains unfazed. Who is powering this government despite its moral turpitude? One wonders. There must be some mighty forces. There must be some mighty forces beyond our government, beyond our national borders, that have been propping this government. What do you think? Who are those forces? I keep wondering all the time. Don't you? Don't you also wonder as to what forces have been keeping this discredited, this hugely unpopular government afloat? The government had touted this energy deal with India, the deal for the export of 10,000 megawatts of green energy from Nepal to India as its huge, smashing achievement. But as the deal unravels, it is becoming increasingly clear that the deal itself was orchestrated to serve Indian interests at the expense of Nepal and successive generations of Nepalese. Let me explain how. It is a cursory research, like it's all on the internet. Media reports are there. So a cursory review of these reports make it quite clear that Indian companies have more than 5,000 megawatts in their hands, literally. They have projects with a total installed capacity of around 5,000 megawatts. Some of the lucrative projects of this country, whether it's Arun 3, Arun 4, Lower Arun, West Seti, Seti 6, Upper Karnali. These projects have total generation capacity of 5,000 megawatts. What's more, these companies, state-owned companies like SJVN, that is Satluj Jal Vidyut Nigam Limited, NHPCL, and then GMR, they have projects totaling 5,000 megawatts. And still, these companies that have ready 24/7 access to the corridors of power in Nepal have been eyeing some of the most lucrative projects of this country, whether it's the 1200 megawatt Budi Gandaki project, whether it's Arun, or whether it's 10,000 megawatt, 10,800 megawatt Karnali Chisapani reservoir based projects. It is becoming increasingly clear that this very deal was materialized, hastily materialized, without taking the nation and the opposition into confidence, to benefit the Indian establishment at the expense of Nepal and successive generations of Nepalese. What's more, we are talking only about energy when it comes to relations with India. What about the green dividend such projects generate? What about The water, what about the constant flow of water resulting from reservoir based projects developed by inundating huge swathes of Nepali territories, including forest land, private lands, cultivable lands, by displacing hundreds of thousands of Nepalese? What do we get? The state itself pays hefty sums in the rehabilitation of these populations. But what do we get in return? A morsel of free energy that is not even 10% of total generational capacity of those projects. The destination country, the country that consumes that green energy, gets huge dividends. It just has its share of ecology gain. It gets to reduce carbon emissions. That means it has access to carbon credits because it is switching to green energy. It just its groundwater downstream just gets replenished. There is an ecology gain downstream uh, because of a constant flow of water. Even during the lean season, what happens is, like, there is much water for irrigation, for navigation, for fisheries and whatnot, for drinking water as well. So it, in terms of returns, we get peanuts, whereas India, the destination country, the importer, gets all the benefits. So the government claims that it has materialized, it has effected a hugely beneficial deal for Nepal. That is like unraveling. That is far from the truth. People have been waylaid. The country, it has been sold down the river once again through this deal, as if those controversial deals effected in the past, the deals like the Kosi Agreement, the Gandak Agreement, the Mahakali Treaty, as if they were not enough to just rob the country and the peoples of their lifelines, that are those rivers that can just turn our fortunes for good. As this deal unravels, the government should find itself on the defensive. The onus is on the opposition parties in the parliament to just hold the government to account over such a treasonous deal. Just take the government to task for selling the country down the river once again. The opposition should just rally the nation behind this sellout and give the government a hard time. The government that is suffering from this moral turpitude but clings on to power no matter what. It's time for us to just wrap up this edition, but let's talk a bit more about this bus linkage between Bangladesh and Nepal. There are plans to just resume, to just start a Dhaka Kathmandu bus service. Let's talk about this linkage a bit. uh, Nepali authorities, they have been seeing quite a lot of potential in terms of bilateral trade and tourism between the two countries. That's well and good. That's why, like, there are increased preparations to start the bus service between our two capitals. But these buses will just have to pass through the Indian territories. So obviously, India also needs to be brought on board. There is every chance that tourism will get a boost, bilateral linkages will get a boost through this linkage. But there are also fears. What are those fears? There are some security concerns vis-a-vis this service also, I think. Bangladesh is home to a large number of displaced populations. The Rohingyas from Myanmar, that is Burma. A significant number of the Rohingyas have already made inroads into Nepal. They have entered Nepal through Indian territories. So, what we have experienced is that increased connectivity also brings increased risks. How do we tackle those risks? Because of increased connectivity, certain security threats also increase. So how do we deal with that? How do we make sure? How do we make sure that those entering Nepal are genuine tourists, or those leaving for Bangladesh from Nepal do not have some ulterior motives? There has to be a mechanism, no? There has to be some kind of screening on the part of both the countries. So while we just go euphoric over this upcoming bus service, we should also be aware of the threats and opportunities. I hope the government is quite serious about, the government is aware of what those threats and opportunities are vis-a-vis this bus service. With this remark, I wrap up this edition of a Soft Talk. I request you to subscribe to this channel because we are trying to be your true voice. I request you to comment on our presentation and press that like button. Your support, it means a world to us. It means a moon to us. It means an entire universe to us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.